Hello everyone. In the previous video, I have explained what is data hiding and purpose of data hiding. In this video, I am going to explain what is encapsulation with a real life example as well as practical example. And then I will explain advantages and disadvantages of encapsulation. And at the end, I will give quick review on encapsulation. Okay. Now let's get started. So encapsulation is the process of wrapping up of data in single unit. So what is it exactly? Let's understand. So if we think as a real life point of view, capsule is the best example of encapsulation. We know medical capsule. It contain medicine, right? And medicine wrap in capsule to protect it from outside damage. Similarly, if we relate it programmatically, capsule is nothing but the class and medicine is nothing but the data, variables and methods, which is wrapped in class to protect it from outside access. Same as that of medicine, a wrap in capsule to protect it from outside damage. And this process of wrapping up of data in a class or in single unit is nothing but the encapsulation. So basically, encapsulation is the process of wrapping up of data in single unit to protect data from outside access. Clear? Now let's implement it practically. So here first I will explain what problems developer had to face without encapsulation, and then I will explain how we can overcome that problems using encapsulation. Now assume that you are a programmer and as per the requirement of client you have to create a program to keep record of employees data. So for that first you will need to create an employee class. So let's create class employee. And now you have to keep record of employee data such as employee ID, and it's suppose 301. Then employee name, and it's suppose XYZ, and employee address, and it's suppose PQRS. Employee data should be more, such as employee designation, employee salary, employee date of birth, and so on. But here I am taking just basic data. Okay? Alright. Now you have basic employee data, employee ID, employee name, and employee address. Okay? Alright. Everything is well and good. But in future, company wants to provide pickup and drop service, that is cab service, to the employees. So for that, we will need to create another class, and it's suppose cab service class. So class cab service. And cab service class want employee data, that is employee name and employee address, to provide them cab service, right? So instead of creating new employee data, you can get it or access it directly from employee class, because employee class already have employee data. So let's access it. And to access employee data from employee class, we will need to create employee class object, because employee data is belong to employee class, and hence to access it, we need to create employee class object. So let's create it inside main method of cab service class. Employee E equals to new employee. Now let's access employee data, that is employee name and employee address from employee class using employee class object directly inside println method. Okay. So we can write employee name E dot employee name and employee address E dot employee address. And here we can put backslash n for new line. Okay. Backslash n. Now let's run the code. You can see here we have got employee data successfully. But if we notice here, cab service class access employee data easily from employee class. But as safety purpose, employee data should be secure so that outsiders, that is outside class, cannot access it easily. Because if employee data is not safe, then anyone can change original employee data. That is, anyone can manipulate original data easily. Now see here, address of XYZ employee is PQRS, right? But I can easily change this address. Now see here, I can easily change original employee address. So E dot employee address equals to LM and OP. Suppose LM and OP. Okay, all right. Now the address is LM and OP. So let's check it out. So let's copy this println method and paste here, and let's run the code again. Okay. So you can see here the original employee address has been changed and it's now LM and OP. So if we notice here, I have easily changed original employee address. So basically problem is anyone can change or manipulate employee original data. And to overcome such type of problems, encapsulation concept is introduced. Now let's understand how we can overcome this problem using encapsulation. So we already saw that employee data is not secure. Anyone can manipulate it. And hence we will need to secure it or protect it from outside access so that outsiders or outside class cannot access it easily, right? And we can secure or protect employee data by declaring as private. It means we will need to declare this employee data as private using private access modifier. So let's declare it as private, and here also we will need to write private access modifier, and here also as well. Okay, all right. Now employee data is secure. No one can access it easily outside of class. We can check it out. Let's run the code again. Let's see. You can see here compiler raised an error. Employee name is not visible. Employee address is not visible, and so on. So we are getting this error because I have directly accessed this private data outside of class, that is in cap service class. In this way, we can protect employee data by declaring it as private. Now see here, I have protect or hide employee data by declaring it as private to prevent outside access. And this concept of hiding of data from outside access is nothing but the data hiding. Now this data is hidden or private and we cannot access private data directly outside of class because it's secure now, right? But problem is that if we cannot directly access private data outside of class, then how we can access employee data in cap service class? Because cap service class want employee data to provide pickup and drop service to the employees, right? So for that, what we will need to do to access private data outside of class? So for that, we will need to use setter and getter methods. Basically, in programming, setter methods are used to set or to update values of private member variables, whereas getter methods are used to get or to access values of private member variables. So let's create setter and getter methods. So first let's create setter method to set or assign value to the private member variables, that is to the instance variable. So let's create it. But before that, let me remove this code from here. We do not need of it. Okay. As well as remove these values from here because we cannot show private data like this at the time of variable declaration. It considered as a bad programming practice. Okay. All right. So first let's create setter method to set or to assign values to the private variables. And remember, setter methods always start with word set. Okay. So we can write set values. And this method won't return anything because the job of this method is only to set value to the private instance variable. So the return type of this method should be void because this method won't return anything. And pass here parameters to which we have to set values. So we have to set values to the employee name and employee address, right? So we can write string employee name and string employee address. And right here, employee name equals to employee name. Similarly, we can write for employee address. So just copy and paste here equals to employee address. And one more thing, declare this method as public so that we can access this method from outside of class. That is, we can call it from outside of class. Basically, setter and getter methods should be public so that we can access it outside of class. As well as we can put code for validations also inside setter method so that outsiders can set or manipulate value of variables in control way or in authorized way, and it will help to protect data from unauthorized access. Okay, that's it. Nothing we have to do for setter method. So this is our setter method. Now let's define getter methods, and getter methods also should always start from word get. So we can write get employee name. An employee name is of string type, and therefore the return type of this method should be string. And simply write here return employee name and declare this method as public. So the job of this method is to return or to get employee name, and here also inside getter method we can put validation code to control unauthorized access from outsider. So this is getter method which will return employee name. Similarly, we will need to create one more getter method to get employee address. So we can write public string get employee address and return employee address. Alright, and now first let's set or assign values to the private variables using set value method. So for that we will need to call this set value method from cap service class using employee class object, because this set value method is belong to employee class, and hence to use it we will need to create employee class object that already I have created. So we can write e dot set value and pass here values. So employee name suppose XYZ and address suppose PQRS. So in this way we can set values to the private variables using setter method. Now let's access employee name and employee address using getter method directly inside println method. So we can write employee name e dot get employee name. Similarly we can write for employee address. So employee address e dot get employee address. So in this way we can access employee name and employee address using get employee name method and get employee address method. Now let's run the code. But before that, let's understand the execution flow of a program. Now see here in Java, the execution of program start from the main method, and hence the control first come over here and employee class object will create. And then control come to this, and this set value method get called and will invoke this employee class set value method, and the value xyz will set to this a local variable employee name, and employee address PQRS will set to this local variable employee address, and then will assign to this instance variable employee name and employee address accordingly. After that, control come over here inside println method, and this get employee name method get called and will invoke this get employee name method, and this method will return employee name, that is xyz, and the xyz will print on console. After that, control come to this, and this get employee address method get called and will invoke this get employee address method of employee class, and this method will return employee address, that is PQRS, and then PQRS will print on a console using this println method, and after that program will terminate. Okay, clear? Now let's run the code. Let's see. You can see here we have got employee name XYZ and employee address PQRS. So in this way we can access private data outside of class using setters and getter methods in authorized way. So you can see here I have protect data from outside of access by declaring variable as private and providing public setter and getter methods. And these variables and methods are wrapped in a class. And this process of wrapping up of data in a class or in a single unit is nothing but the encapsulation. So basically, we can protect data from outside access of class by the help of encapsulation. Clear? And one more thing, as I said before, class is the best example of encapsulation. But remember, the class which will follow data hiding concept, that class is considered as a encapsulated class. So always keep in mind, in Java, all classes are not the example of encapsulated class, but the class which will follow the data hiding concept, that class only considered as a encapsulated class. Clear? So this class we can say encapsulated class because this class follow data hiding concept. So always keep in mind all classes are not example of encapsulation, but class which will follow data hiding concept, that class only consider as a encapsulated class. Clear? And I want to note one more point here. Most of the beginners are confused between data hiding and encapsulation. So I want to clear this point here. Now see here, data hiding is a hiding or secure data by declaring it as private. And this concept of hiding of data is nothing but the data hiding. Whereas a wrapping up of data in a class or in a single unit is a nothing but the encapsulation. So basically we can say data hiding is a part of encapsulation process. So don't get confused anymore. Data hiding is a hiding of data, whereas encapsulation is a wrapping up of data. Clear? Now let's understand advantages of encapsulation. So main advantage of encapsulation is encapsulation helps to protect data from outside access. That means now see here I have declared employee data as private and provide public setter and getter methods with validations, and hence outsider cannot access data easily. If outsider want to access private data, then they will need to deal with setter and getter methods. They won't get data easily. In this way we can protect data. So always keep in mind main advantage of encapsulation is to protect data from outside access. Same as that of capsule. Capsule helps to protect medicine from outside damage. Similarly, in Java, encapsulation helps to protect data from outside access. Clear? And second advantage is encapsulation helps to increase reusability of code. How? Let's understand. Now see here, I have created employee class and provide public setter and getter methods and access these methods outside of class by creating employee class object. Similarly, I can use these setter and getter methods in another classes also by creating object of employee class. So basically, I can easily reuse this same code, that is methods, everywhere in a program by creating employee class object, right? Basically, I'm trying to say that we can create class once and reuse it everywhere in a program by creating multiple objects, and it promotes code reusability. Clear? So in this way, encapsulation helps to increase code reusability. Now let's understand the disadvantages of encapsulation. The main disadvantage of encapsulation is it increase length of the code. That means now see here, to update or to access private variables, you will need to create setter and getter methods. But in future, if you want to create new variables in the program, then for that also you will need to create another setter and getter methods to access that variables, because we cannot modify already existing setter and getter methods because they are already being used in a program. And if you try to modify already existing methods, then you will need to perform changes in all places where that methods are used. Therefore, we cannot modify already existing setter and getter methods, and hence you will need to create new setter and getter methods for variables, right? And due to this, a length of code will definitely increase, as well as code can become lengthy and complicated to understand. Clear? And second disadvantage is private data is not easily accessible outside of class. So these are the disadvantages of encapsulation. Now I am giving quick review on encapsulation. So encapsulation is a process of wrapping up of data, that is wrapping up of variables and methods in a class or in a single unit. And second point is we can protect data or hide data by declaring variables as private, and this concept is nothing but the data hiding. And next point is a class which will follow data hiding concept, that class only consider as a encapsulated class. Okay. And next point is we can achieve encapsulation by declaring variables as private and providing public setter and getter methods. And main purpose of encapsulation is to protect data from outside access by wrapping it up in single unit. As well as encapsulation helps to increase code reusability. Clear? That's all. This is all about encapsulation, and I hope you understand the basic concept of encapsulation. Now I am going to end this session. So keep learning, keep growing, and thank you so much for watching.